I noticed in my business that around 2:30, like the energy was just a cliff every day. So I implemented a mandatory screen-free time where people have to stand up and do something. I went and bought a foosball table. I did convert my boardroom table to a ping pong table, and I love doing those things anyway, so it was an excuse for us to have some fun, have some competitive people in the office. But even if you don't want to do a sport, you can go for a walk, grab a coffee, and that's probably, for Creative Niche, everyone's favorite time of the day. It was interesting to see what happens with productivity, engagement, energy in the office. It's only 30 minutes a day, but it's a mandatory break for everyone. And you just see this incredible collaboration. People start talking and laughing, and they start competing. And I have an office full of women, and to be honest with you, I bought this foosball table because I thought it would look great. And I had this patch on my floor that was driving me nuts, so I was like, we got to put a foosball table there. And we did, and I have all women. And the first week, everyone was kind of given this table stink eye. They're like, oh, my brother played that. That's a lame sport or game. And now if you walk into Creative Niche, like at least 5 times a month we get noise complaints in our office because of the yelling. But there's a lineup, so much so that my son even organizes a tournament every quarter for the team. So that's just one thing in particular that culturally you can certainly incorporate that doesn't cost a lot of money or time. The other thing you may or may not have heard of is the Spotify business model. So it started off Spotify, pretty lean Swedish company. They beat Apple, right? They beat Apple Music consistently, and Apple threw way more money, resources, and Spotify designed a way of working with their engineering team in which that they can innovate and get things to market faster than any other type of structure they had tried thus far. So we incorporated that at Red, a version of that, and at first it was a little bit clumsy and it didn't quite work. No one really knew where their boss was or who they reported to. And we later incorporated that into Creative Niche. So for instance, if you've not heard of it, it's that you have tribe leaders and then you have guild leaders, kind of a cross management, if you will. But it helps you be specialized and then also report in, so there's alignment on the general side of the business. So that has been hugely successful at Creative Niche because there's not one person responsible for the entire business's success. It's a very interesting model, and it gave me an opportunity to promote 4 people. They sit at a table. We have a weekly check-in, and they're responsible for their guilds, and then I'm responsible for the tribe, if you will. So that's an interesting model. You can implement that in a small business. You can implement that in a department at RBC. It's very applicable, and it's a very interesting model to get kind of the younger generations feeling engaged and being part of the conversation. We're still surprised sometimes when we're looking at employment contracts for larger organizations. They're very strict on that, and having also sick days. And so what happens when you've got a millennial, they want to go to Europe, they want to go to Asia. I mean, don't we all really? And they have to end up using their sick days and calling in sick, and that leads to a lie. And then who wants to lie? Sometimes you just want a day off. So for instance, the way I've structured in both businesses that you have time off. And it doesn't matter what you do. If you need a day off because you're tired, if you were at a concert, that's okay. You can just call in and take a day off, or you can have extended vacations for 3 weeks in a row, as long as you have appropriate coverage. The idea is if you allow your team and your staff to go and live and be creative and get inspired, they just come back and want to work so hard, and they're a lot more loyal. And they're going to bring that energy and that learning back into the company.